When I was elected in November 2014 to join our school board, I was elected with a mandate. Two things: find out what's happening within our school district, and then come back and tell us about it so that we can work on improvements. That's exactly what I set out to do. After resigning under what could only be claimed as duress, I took a couple months and thought about how could I get back with the constituents who voted for me and come through on what I had been asked to do. And so I started this blog. And so the public blog actually has been used over the last year to really highlight some of the opportunities that we have in our district. Some of the issues that we have, whether it be mostly from the financial management side of the house and the way in which our district operates. Well, it looks like the time for this, or the run of this public blog has run its course. So going forward, the blog entries will be private. I have two updates to provide for you. One, the FOA request was originally submitted by Kinevia Partners, which I'm a member of, and back in November 27, 2017, as well as the petition of the DOE, in which I mentioned an email I sent out before the referendum on fields. Both of these will work hand in hand in conjunction, and they are both now in process. So over the past couple of months, as the first FOA, and we already went over the original, and I'm just going to show you a couple of things, our request came back with $8,000. And so at that point in time, realizing that seemed to be an unreasonable estimate, I did engage on behalf of the partnership a third party to assist us, and that has gone well. Over the last couple of months, I've learned a lot about FOA. I've learned a lot about public government, and I think we've come to an amicable resolution, and so we'll talk about that in just a moment. The other one is the petition, which we'll talk about also. And also going forward, as this goes to private blog, I have set up a low expectations of public education at gmail.com email address. It is completely private. If you'd like to continue to stay abreast of what's happening through this blog and future communications, just let us know. Just send an email to that email address in the link below, and I'll add you to the folks that have access to the blog going forward. A little teaser, the first blog entry that will be private, I will show you, after researching and reviewing thousands of financial documents, how we can save $500,000 a year without impacting one job and or reducing any services for our students. And so if you're interested in that, once again, click on the link below and just send an email, and we'll add you to the audience and let you know when that blog post is ready to go. Well, update number one, FOA. Okay, so with the FOA request, let's go ahead, and I just want to kind of show you a couple of things because we have come to an amicable resolution, and I'll show you in a moment. We did send in to have that fulfilled. But some things that were really highlighted, as you know, is if you've seen the other blog entries as you go along, accuracy does not really seem to be a strength within some of our operators here in our district, and the ability to add basic math seems to be an opportunity. So sometimes it either is coming down to a lack of competence, character. I'm not really sure what the reason is for it, and the fact that it continues to be allowed to go on. But let me show you just a few more examples here briefly, which will lead into the second update and why that is so important. So here we go. So, all right. So if you look at the first slide here, this is the original estimate. So if you look at this one, you'll find that we have $8,120.55, if people remember correctly. A couple numbers that I want you to kind of look at as we go through this. Right here on the gate receipts, 150 events. So this is over a 3-year period from July 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2017. About 50 events a year, which would correspond similarly to, I think during the referendum, there was somewhere around 70, 75 events. So I can't quite remember, but okay, that seems reasonable when you think about how many events we may have. And you notice that it was 60 hours for the ADPs, 60 hours for the warrants. And so we did push back, and once again, we did use someone to assist us. And so we did get a revised estimate. So I do give credit where credit's due. I do appreciate the willingness to work with us from the administrative team. Well, when you look at the revised estimate, though, a couple of things kind of stand out. Yes, the amount did drop by a couple $1,000. But if you look here over on the left, notice how we went from 150 events to 300 events. Warrants, we went from 500 to 200. So possibly some guesswork going on as far as how many documents are actually involved here. And here's a number that's interesting too, is this 13.5. So you can see this number right here went from 60 to 40, but you notice the 13.5 stays the same. So over here it says it's estimated 10% of the total BT&A estimate. So you think as the numbers drop. Now originally, if you do the math, if you have a chance, take any of these numbers here, add them all up and what have you, multiply them by 0.1 or 10% and see if they come anywhere near any of the numbers you see on this sheet. But that's just some fun that you might be able to have on your own. But you do see that the estimate did come down. Supplies also, you can see because of the increase in documents, supplies stays at $75, and you'll see that supplies over here was $75 for 14,000 documents. Now remember, these documents up here are being supplied by the bank, right? So that's not being supplied by the administration. So with us, and I'm learning that one thing that's become very apparent through this whole process is that our filing system within our district is archaic. Our processes are much outdated. And that the inefficiencies really cost a lot of money. So you pay a premium in this district, whether it's for a FOA request or just for administration in general, you are paying a premium for inefficiency. So we did push back. We sent in a new estimate. We said, okay, these are going to take a lot of time. Our intention is not to be disruptive to the office. It is not an intention to cause 204 hours to be spent trying to find and locate these financial documents, of which, remember, a lot of these were still within the audit period. So another thing that we learned through this process is the all-encompassing audit that you hear about that happens once a year doesn't exist, at least from my opinion, because when you look at it, what actually happens is a very limited scope audit that actually fulfills certain requirements that have to be done by the school districts. It's not something where somebody comes in and really looks at all of your processes and procedures and makes sure that the money's going where it's supposed to. It's not a in-depth audit. Those are much different. And if not, these documents would be much easier to come by because they would have been included. Just my opinion, but in my experience, almost 20 years in the financial services industry, that would seem relevant. So we sent that in, this comes back, and as you can see, once again, we get 300 here, and you can see highlighted in yellow. I'm not sure why it's in yellow, but then you get your 10 hours here, 200 hours here, still 10%. So now the hours here, if you're keeping track, have gone from 72 total hours to 52 total hours to 12 total hours. But now it's going to take longer to refile the documents and to actually go find them and photocopy the documents. Kind of ironic. The price is still $202.50. Now, if you look at the doc up here, a little over 3,000 and 3,002 documents being provided by the bank. So that's $50 of which we're paying for. So actually here, right, you're only looking at about 1,100 documents. Right? So about 2,902 up here, about 1,100. So it's gone from 14,000 down, but still for supplies, $75. I'm going to show you something about that in a minute. So total estimate, $917.50. If you look at what my estimate was using their original numbers and actually using a 10% over here on the BT&A, come up with $695.50. But once again, there's a premium when you are working with our district apparently. So no adjustment on supplies or filing time. And once again, we have an extra 150 events that have happened during the 3-year time period, but after the November 27th original request. So we did push back a little bit more. And so we did send to the person that was helping us out, but we did have a couple of concerns, right? So gate receipts, the original estimate 150 items per line. Now we have 300 items per line. Where the other 150 events come from? Original estimate at 13.5 hours for refiling on 72 hours worth of work. 18.75%. It's supposed to be 10% of total BT&A, according to the documents originally provided by the administration, our superintendent. Revised estimate now has 13.5 hours based on 12 hours, which is 112.5%. So it takes longer now to find them, or actually put them back than to find them originally. And when you look at supply, same story. $75 based on our original estimate of $9,932. It's less than a penny an item. Now, when it gets revised down to 1,100, we're at 6.8 cents per item. And then when it gets revised again, we're actually up over 10 cents an item, which you'll see on the bottom. So at the 75 cents per item, you'd be about $8.25. But once again, you're paying a premium because of the inefficiencies apparently, or I'm not really sure where these numbers come from. I would not be able to, I'd love to see how these were put together, what formula was used for these, but as you can see, nothing really seems to add up. Based on the revision, the gate receipts, 725 total items now being asked for the superintendent and team. It's still going to take some 6 to 7 weeks is the estimated time range. and it's going to be 10 cents per item on supplies. We're paying $15 an hour for the work to be done. But as you look at this next slide, over to the left, you will see here's a picture of the boxes I've been keeping my documents in. I'm trying to be as close and simulate the filing system that we have in our district. So here are the boxes I've kept the documents in that I've reviewed as a board member and since as a private citizen. And after reviewing these and as a partnership discussing what we found here and what we shared here on the blog, we said, okay, we're going to stop pushing back. We will pay the $823.75. So you see over to the right, here's a letter we sent in yesterday. Certified mail, we sent as treasurer's check. I want to leave as much of a paper trail as we can here. So $823.75 is the estimate that we were given to fulfill the full request that was first submitted November 27, 2017. So we're almost 4 months later. And it, once again, I've redacted the name of the person that's been helping us out. Out of respect for them, I have a great deal of respect for them, and they'll let them know, and then we'll send someone down. Obviously not myself to go pick up these documents. So there's a full request, 6 to 7 weeks. We'll get those documents. So we're going to be looking at the bank statements. We're going to be looking at the warrants. We'll be looking at the gate receipts, and then in a private blog post, we'll go ahead and review those with all of you. So. Now that takes us to the second update. So as you also know, as I mentioned before in that email I said I'll be more than happy to work with the Department of Education to get the petition, make sure it's all approved and in the right format. We jumped the gun a little bit, so I apologize to anybody that's out there getting signatures. There is quite a process to a petition, but we have worked over the past month or so. And the petition has been reworded, has gone through the State Election Commission, has gone through the Department of Education and the liaison there, who also, once again, has been great to work with. And so now here's where we are. We have everything is all set up, ready to go. The full request has been sent in, so the clock starts on that, 6 to 7 weeks, somewhere in around there. Hopefully we'll get these 725 documents, plus the bank statements, of course. And then, but here's the challenge. So it's apparently going to take 6 to 7 weeks for our administrative team to find these documents and photocopy them, have them ready for pickup. I know it only takes a few days, as once before. You know, I've talked to Bank or Savings Bank. I know how long it's going to take them to get their part done. So here we are. So with the petition, 2,100 registered voters from Hamden, Newburgh, Winterport, and Frankfort signed the petition. And we take it, it goes to the Department of Education. That starts the process. It's an inspection. The Department of Education, I learned, does not employ CPAs or CFEs or anything like that, but they do have financial professionals that are well-versed in the policies and procedures and the laws. And so they can come in, and I won't give you the full scope of what the inspection will include, but they will come in, and then what they find either gets, I won't go through that whole process either, but it'll get referred to the right folks, or the right actions will be taken if anything's found to be out of, if you're out of compliance or anything like that. So hopefully we'll get a great deal of support. We have a little over 2,300 students in our district. I'm hoping that we can get one registered voter per student to sign, whether you have students in the district or not, or if you're just a taxpayer who is going to be paying your taxes in a couple of weeks and know that some 60-some-odd% of that money is going to go into a school district budget, of which we apparently have a hard time accounting for our money. We have a hard time adding, and we seem to have a hard time with accuracy. And when you think about the treasurer role, how many people are hiring this treasurer to manage your finances? So there's the question. So the FOA is already in. If you're interested in helping out with the petition, signing the petition, neighborhood signing parties, or there may be a couple of events that I'll announce either through the Facebook page or through the private blog, and so that we can go ahead and get those. So can we get 2,100 signatures before the administration can find these documents and photocopy them? I think it's interesting to see if that can happen. So there's a challenge. So once again, the next blog post will be private. If you'd like to see that blog post, just send an email to loweexpectations.publiceducation@gmail.com. And once again, yeah, I know the N's missing. Apparently the email address is a little bit long for Gmail, but that's okay. It's par for the course, right, with what we're doing here. But this is good business. I will be going forward. This is really more into what I'm attuned to at a professional level. And I really appreciate all the support from everybody. Once again, I hope this gets to the 1,772 people that voted for me. So You'll understand that hopefully I have fulfilled my obligation that I had when I originally ran and accepted the election to the school board. We are all working hard to, there have been some good changes over the last year. We have some new personnel that I like, but continue to work to make sure that our students have what they need and our educators have what they need, and that we have the what should be the crown jewel of school districts here in the state of Maine. So once again, down there, if you'd like to learn how we can save $500,000 without impacting one job or reducing any services to our students, send an email, lowexpectations in publiceducation@gmail.com, and we'll be sharing that on our next blog, and we'll let you know when that one's ready. Thank you very much. Once again, what a great community we live in.